In the market basket meat section, a woman is picking over all the frozen turkeys, and she's angry, just steamed. I swear, she mutters, these are the smallest, puniest, tiniest turkeys I have ever seen. No way will these feed my family. And just then, poor stock boy shuffles by. He's a gawky lad, pencil thin. "You there," snaps the woman. "Stock boy." "Young man," says the woman, "I am so frustrated with this selection of turkeys. I mean, really. I've looked over them all, and each and every one is unacceptably small. For heaven's sake, don't they get any bigger?" The stock boy thinks a minute, glances over at the freezer, where they're all piled high, and then says gently, "No, ma'am, they don't. Those turkeys are dead." Like a turkey who isn't going to grow larger, or a soup that has only a stone for flavoring, we often feel as though we simply don't have enough to share. We are on the brink of Thanksgiving, and a not so beloved Thanksgiving tradition in my house is for my husband and I to sit down over dinner to talk about what we don't have enough of. Do any of you have this ritual around this time of year? It's pretty demoralizing. It goes something like this. "Robin, we don't have enough money to buy children Christmas presents this year, much less the adults, so don't spend any money. We won't have enough saved for vacation this summer. We don't have enough chairs for Thanksgiving. Our Thanksgiving turkey might not be big enough for 20 people. We don't have enough room in the refrigerator to put all of the stuff. We don't have enough wine or Zoloft to survive the dinner conversation. We don't have enough. I don't have enough time to do all the things we need to do before Thanksgiving happens. We don't have enough. I certainly don't have enough patience to make another pie crust again this year." For those of you that were witness to my pie crust disaster last year, you know why. And my iPhone app keeps reminding me that I'm going to die. I mean, does any of this even matter anyway? Let's just skip it this year. This conversation invariably leads to a fight. Shocker, right? And my husband and I had the first fight that we've had in several months on Thursday. And this makes sense, because when you begin a conversation with "we don't have enough," it raises anxiety and fear and dread, right? And it causes shutdown and blaming and shaming. For religious professionals with divinity school degrees, my husband and I have so little faith. We spent a lot of money on those divinity school degrees, and that's why we can't afford, we don't have enough for anything, and yet we have so little faith, right? I see this happening all over the nation right now. Conversations about resource scarcity that begin with "we don't have enough" and end with shame and blame and fear. The conversation about refugees begins out of a place of scarcity and fear instead of abundance and faith, so it encourages a militarized response. And the conversation about immigration in general begins out of a place of never enough, so it encourages wall building instead of bridge building. The conversation about the poor begins with "they churn out kids on my hard-earned dime," which encourages hatred and disdain of the children of God who need our help to survive the most, especially the children. There's not enough, we are told all the time. which scares us. And we are so easily scared. For a religious nation, we have so little faith. We cannot move toward the mystery of God without moving first toward the mystery of our neighbor. The psalmist says, I have no good apart from God. We have no good apart from each other. The disciples are having a conversation about scarcity of resources when we find them on top of the mountain with Jesus, right? Passover was nearing. It was a time of feasting and festival for the Jews. And word had spread about Jesus' ministry, so a large crowd of how many were gathering? Do you remember how many? 5,000, right? And the crowd had heard that this teacher could heal people, right? That's what they heard. That's why they were gathering in such large numbers. So the crowd, can you imagine who the crowd contained? The crowd contained those who were desperate, right? Or sick, or disabled, or spiritually lost, and poor, and depressed, and refugee, and outcast. All the people who needed healing, which is all of us, every single one. And they were hungry. Rumble, rumble, right? Jesus' friends weren't anticipating this crowd, and they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough for themselves to eat, much less to feed all of these high needs people. They had just 1 barley loaf and 2 fish for the Passover meal, so they started to panic, didn't they? And fight, because that's what you do when you're panicking. We will never have enough. Our offerings are unacceptably small, and they aren't going to get any bigger. There are so many hungry people approaching, and I am hungry too. If they come here, they will take my food and my money and my job and my health care, and there will never be enough for me, much less for all of them. For followers of Jesus, the disciples had so little faith. And Jesus tests them by asking a rhetorical question. He says, where are we to buy bread for all these people to eat? And the disciples failed the test. They answered Jesus' question with a budget concern, right? They say, not even 6 months' salary will buy us enough. That's what they say. They just don't get the kind of God that they serve, do they? Not even the disciples. So Jesus says, make them sit down. And then Jesus takes the loaves, and when he had given thanks to God, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. And when they were satisfied, when they had eaten so much that their bellies were full, he said to gather up the fragments because there was still more, right? There was still leftovers. There was so much food that they had leftovers. And some people just think this is a story about Jesus' ability to perform miracles, and well, it is, right? But I often picture the crowd gathered looking in their coat pockets and saying, oh, I have a potato, and I have some bulgur wheat, and I have some noodles and some stovetop stuffing and some celery stalk, and I have a carrot. I have many carrots, and I have a rubber chicken, because First Church always has rubber chickens. And I picture the moms fishing in their purse, because moms always have so much weird stuff in their purse, right? For an old piece of gum or some peanuts left over from a plane ride. They don't even give peanuts on plane rides anymore, do they? Some pretzels that they have from a plane ride coming home from Florida. And I picture people shaking hands and saying, how do you do? Instead of eyeing each other with suspicion. And I picture that the real miracle that happens here is the realization that together we have everything that we need, right? Jesus teaches us this: if you have less than you think you need, give thanks to God for it. Give thanks. And invite all those who hunger to dine with you anyway. Build a longer table, not a higher fence. The crowd responds with generosity instead of fear when that's the message, right? We too believe in a God who creates this kind of abundance from scarcity, who can build a soup from 3 rocks, a God who says not enough is the best place to begin, right? A God who reminds us that none of this is ours, and that the correct response when someone's tummy is rumbling is to say, I can help. This God reminds us that we can't go it alone. We need one another to make the feast. That's why there's more religion at a church potluck than there is in the worship service. Can I get an amen? At the church potluck, we start with just our puny offering, a sad bag of Tostitos scoops, right, from Appletown Market, which is what I usually bring. And like magic, when people bring their potato salads and Jell-O salads and pasta salads and cookies and pies, it expands into a feast of carbs to ruin 1,000 people's keto diet, right? Our offering may be unacceptably small, but together we have everything. Amen. Alice Walker in The Color Purple says, have you ever found God in a church? I never did. I just found a bunch of folks hoping for him to show. Any God I ever felt in church, I brought in with me. And I think all the other folks did too. They come to church to share God, not find God. Beloved, we come here to share God, not find God. So if you're waiting around for God to show up, just look around this room and share God. I'm serious, look around this room. Look around this room. Look at your neighbors and your friends and the people you haven't met yet, and the children and their tired parents, and all the Grammies and Grampies who are here to keep them entertained. Look around at the people you share this place with. If all you have to give them is a smile and an encouraging word, that is more than enough. Forget your perfect offering. Just share whatever it is you brought with you. This Thanksgiving, I am grateful for the ways you share God with me, beloved. Thank you for bringing God's abundance in with you every time you come, because it means my puny, already dead contribution is enough for a feast. I have no good apart from all of you. Happy Thanksgiving, beloved, and amen.